Right now, your phone is within arm's reach. You know it. You can feel it there even when you're not looking at it. And in the next hour, you will pick it up. Not because you need to, because something in you demands it. You tell yourself it's boredom. You tell yourself it's habit. But the real answer is far stranger, and it has almost nothing to do with the phone itself. Your brain was built for a world that no longer exists. A world of open plains, dense forests, and constant low-grade danger. And the machinery that kept your ancestors alive in that world is the exact same machinery lighting up every time your screen buzzes. You are not addicted to your phone. You are addicted to what your phone pretends to be. It pretends to be your tribe checking in. It pretends to be danger or opportunity or news you can't afford to miss. It pretends to be all the things your ancestors genuinely needed to track just to survive another week. And because the pretending is so convincing, your body responds as if the stakes were still that high, even when almost every single time they aren't. Start with a pigeon. In the 1950s, a psychologist named B.F. Skinner placed pigeons in small boxes with a lever. Peck the lever, get a food pellet. Simple enough. But then Skinner changed the rule. Instead of a pellet every time, the pigeons got one at random intervals. Sometimes after one peck. Sometimes after 20. The pigeons didn't slow down. They sped up. They pecked harder, faster, more obsessively than the pigeons who got a reward every single time. Why would uncertainty make the craving worse instead of better? Because certainty is boring. A guaranteed reward tells your brain exactly what to expect, and once it knows, it stops paying attention. But an unpredictable reward keeps the system on high alert, scanning, hoping, checking. This is called a variable ratio reinforcement schedule, and it is, without question, the most powerful behavioral hook ever discovered. Slot machines run on it. So does your notification screen. Every time you unlock your phone, you don't know what you're going to find. Maybe nothing. Maybe a message that changes your whole day. That uncertainty is not a flaw in the design. It is the entire design, but the story goes deeper than reward. It goes into the chemistry of anticipation itself. In the 1990s, a neuroscientist named Wolfram Schultz was studying dopamine in monkeys, expecting to find that it spiked when the monkeys received a reward, like juice. That part was true. But he found something else, something almost nobody predicted. The dopamine spike wasn't really about the reward. It was about the moment right before it. The cue, the possibility. Once the monkeys learned that a certain sound meant juice was coming, the dopamine surge shifted earlier, firing the instant they heard the sound, not when the juice actually arrived. Your brain doesn't reward you for getting things. It rewards you for anticipating them. That's what a buzzing phone in your pocket really is. Not a message, a cue. Your dopamine doesn't wait for you to read the text. It fires the second you feel the vibration, the second before you even glance down. The checking isn't driven by what's on the screen. It's driven by the seconds before you look. Think about the last time you felt your phone buzz and made a conscious decision to ignore it. Did you actually stop thinking about it? Or did some quiet part of your mind keep circling back, wondering, guessing, unable to fully let go until you checked? That's not a lack of discipline. That's a cue doing exactly what cues are designed to do. Schultz's monkeys, once they learned the sound meant something was coming, couldn't simply choose to stop responding to it. The response happened below the level of choice, in circuitry far older and far faster than conscious willpower. Your phone has become that sound. The lock screen lighting up is the tone in the lab. And you are, in this very specific and very unflattering way, still the monkey. So why does this feel so urgent? Why does an ignored notification feel almost physically uncomfortable? For that, you have to go back further than psychology labs. You have to go back to the savannah. For most of human history, survival depended on information. Not information about sales or celebrities. Information about your tribe. Who was angry with whom? Who might attack? Who might help you if a predator came at night? A British anthropologist named Robin Dunbar spent decades studying primate social structures, and he proposed something that reshaped how scientists think about gossip. He argued that human language itself evolved primarily as a form of social grooming, a way to track alliances and threats across a group too large to monitor through touch alone. The way apes groom each other one-on-one. In small hunter-gatherer bands, knowing what was happening socially wasn't idle curiosity. It was survival information. Missing a shift in group dynamics could mean exile. And exile alone without a group's protection was often a death sentence. Your brain still runs that program. Every notification triggers the same ancient question your ancestors asked around a fire. What's happening with my people right now? Am I still safe? Am I still included? That's why an unread message feels heavier than it should. Your brain isn't reading a text. It's checking whether the tribe still wants you. And notice what actually happens when you finally read that message. Relief more often than tension. A small exhale you didn't know you were holding. That relief is the tell. You weren't curious. You were bracing. Dunbar also found something else worth sitting with. He calculated that humans can only maintain around 150 stable social relationships at a time, a number now known as Dunbar's number. Beyond that limit, the brain simply can't track who's who owes what, who's a friend, and who's a threat. For most of human history, that number matched reality almost perfectly. A hunter-gatherer band rarely exceeded it. Now think about how many people your phone connects you to. Hundreds. Thousands if you count followers, coworkers, old classmates, strangers in comment sections. Your social monitoring instinct, built for a village of 150, is now trying to track a crowd it was never designed to hold. No wonder it never feels finished. No wonder there's always one more thread to check. Here's where it gets stranger. Ancient humans checked their environment constantly too, but their checking had limits. A dark tree line, a rustle in the grass, a distant sound at night. These moments were rare, spaced out, resolved quickly, and then forgotten. The threat passed, or it didn't, and life moved forward either way. Your phone doesn't work like the savannah. It removed the spacing. It removed the resolution. It gives you an infinite tree line, rustling every few minutes, all day, every day. Think about that for a second. What happens to a threat detection system that never gets to fully relax? It doesn't shut off. It just runs constantly, at a lower simmer, always slightly on alert. Researchers studying digital behavior have found that this creates a kind of chronic, low-grade vigilance. Similar in shape, though not in intensity, to the stress response your ancestors reserved for actual danger. You're not relaxing during a scroll. You're patrolling. Consider what a full night looked like for an early human band. Someone always stayed half awake, listening. A twig snapping. A shift in the wind. But the rest of the group could sleep deeply because they trusted that one set of ears was doing the watching. The threat detection was shared, rotated, and most importantly, it had an off switch. Morning came. The fire held. The watch ended. Your phone gives you no rotation and no off switch. You are the only one on watch every hour for a threat that mostly isn't real. And unlike a twig snapping in the dark, a notification rarely resolves into safety or danger. It just produces another notification. The alert never fully clears. It only refreshes, and this is the twist almost nobody expects. The compulsion to check your phone isn't a modern weakness. It's an ancient strength, pointed at the wrong target. The same instinct that kept a distant ancestor alive by noticing a change in birdsong. The same instinct that made checking on the tribe feel urgent instead of optional is the instinct lighting up your screen 40, 60, 100 times a day. You're not broken. You're using a perfectly good survival tool in an environment that never lets it rest. So what do you do with that? You can't turn off millions of years of evolution, but you can change what you're feeding it. Every time you silence a notification, you're not ignoring a threat. You're teaching your ancient alarm system that this particular tree line is empty. Every time you leave your phone in another room for an hour, you're giving that threat detection circuit something it hasn't had in years. Actual rest, actual resolution, an all-clear signal. Some researchers who study attention and habit formation have pointed out that the fix isn't willpower. It's friction, distance. Removing the cue removes the craving because the craving was never really about the content. It was about the possibility. Think about what changes when the phone is in another room instead of your pocket. Nothing about the world has changed. The messages still arrive. The notifications still stack up. But the cue is gone, and without the cue, the ancient circuitry has nothing to fire at. Within a few minutes, most people report the pull fading almost completely. Not because they stopped caring. Because the alarm system finally got the one thing it was designed to wait for. A clear signal that the watch is over. This is also why total elimination rarely works, and why it isn't really the point. You weren't built to ignore your environment. You were built to read it accurately, then rest. The goal was never to kill the instinct that made your ancestors check the tree line. That instinct kept them alive long enough for you to exist at all. The goal is to stop feeding it a threat that never ends, so it can go back to doing what it does best, noticing what actually matters, and letting go of what doesn't. Tonight, when your phone buzzes on the nightstand, notice what happens in your chest before you even look. That small tightening, that pull. That's not weakness. That's 50,000 years of survival instinct, still running, still faithful, still trying to protect a version of you that no longer exists in the world it was built for. You are not addicted to your phone. You never were. You are simply still listening for a rustle in the grass that stopped mattering 10,000 years ago.